It's a little excitement.
Yeah. Some fire with George's house, huh?
Oh, yeah. John next door melted the side of his house.
Okay, we're live.
Okay.
Bob, you want to lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have this on there?
Yeah. Your thought.
Push
Does
it
it
up.
work?
Push it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And just.
welcome to the town board meeting of July 14th, 2022.
Don't forget, yeah, that's some pretty
Yeah,
good.
pretty good
feedback.
feedback.
Pull down a little bit, George.
Maybe give him yours, Rick.
Yeah.
I can-
Here, let me show you.
Move this thing on. Mine doesn't work.
Oh.
Oh, there it is.
Test, that's better?
Yeah.
No.
Switch with Rick, he doesn't.
He doesn't use it. Go ahead, you can say it. I don't need it.
You just speak loudly.
Just Rick use it, he doesn't know how to turn it off. Let's be honest, all right?
I guess you could turn that off.
So,
All the way at the bottom.
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
wow, we are off.
Well,
It's not just me.
Yeah.
Not there.
Okay, so
It's
first,
upside down.
How do you turn this thing on?
It really is. I'm early for the meeting. Perfect.
first, we have public comments on the
We
agenda.
need a
items
motion.
only.
So
We need a motion to open the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be better.
Meeting.
Yep. Made by Phil, second by
Me, second.
Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public comments from the agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll move on to the first agenda item, which is discuss and review the franchise agreement submitted by Spectrum Northeast LLC, an indirect subsidiary of Charter Communications. So, this is just the preliminaries. We have to set a public hearing for this. So, we can have some dialogue tonight, or we can just say that, we're reading it. I know Phil has read it completely. I've read it completely, and I certainly have some comments about it. So anyway, the process goes this way. They wrote up the draft franchise. Town publishes notice of a public hearing, which is to be set. The town holds the public hearing. And then the town provides Charter with the signed franchise agreement. And then they file it with the Public Service Commission. Pretty simple process. So does anybody want to speak to any of the issues tonight?
Well, for 15 years, just that we've had this passport, I've just got two comments or complaints from people. One of them was a person built a house about 500 feet from the road, and Spectrum said, no, we can't. You're too far from our line to hook you up, so get Dish. The other one was Ken Newbold. You see how close his house is to the road, but it was a few feet beyond what they said that nope, and so he's on a Dish. So two out of all the people in the town through the years. But I think they ought to specify in there so that maybe, what the parameter of who can or who can, so that if somebody built, like this person who built the house 500, 400 feet from the road, was really hosed off. I mean, they were in my office, beating the table. But it wasn't specified anywhere. It was their codes. So might be something.
I can't hear you. I'm just trying to take down the note of what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You specify the distance. Did you say that we were?
Yeah.
Okay.
The
It should be more specific how far they'll go off the road.
I mean, it's only two, but the one person was really aggravated because they built the house and they could have built a little bit closer. They
Sure.
built it themselves on a single lot. And held you. No, you can't do that. It's bad for business.
Thanks.
Anyway,
So maybe a suggestion would be is that, at least from our standpoint, that no matter how far you're from the road, if you are in the town of Goshen, you're eligible for service. Now, will charter do that? Probably not,
I don't think it happens very often.
but we can advocate for that.
Yeah, I mean, if they'll either push back on it or they won't, and if they don't, then it's in there.
Well,
So-
they establish the parameters of who they can serve, can, not will, or
Right.
will not, can.
Okay,
And I know that it's a tremendous cost because some people live way down the lane.
Right.
They would have to bring poles in. But I think somewhere along the line, I remember them saying if they foot the cost of bringing the poles out to where the service
Sure.
is, that they would. But please take a look at that.
yeah, okay,
That's a
that's a good point.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all underground now, there's no more poles.
Well, on the new ones, it's on the ground. The existing ones are all poles.
They do them all in their services. They're doing them all.
No, sir.
Yeah,
What I'm saying to you is all, the underground, yeah. But no matter how it goes to the house, if the house is 1,000 yards in,
Yeah.
then they're not gonna spend the money to
Right.
dig up the underground. All I'm
Right,
saying is,
right.
I don't care how it is.
Yeah.
To bring service out to where it is. Please look at that, because that is a good concern. That's
Yeah.
a real concern.
that was it.
Okay,
So, as I said, we're gonna have further discussions on this. I did send it off to Mary, sent it off to the State Public Service Commission. And we got a response from them already. And there were a couple of things in there that we can look at. I don't know whether we have to discuss that tonight.
you want some comments from those?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say just that thing. And then, no, I'll turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Phil, can I
There's one of
just
them.
make a general statement?
Yes.
before you- And I apologize for cutting in front of you. It's just that anything that doesn't get commented on tonight as a leading up to the next meeting, because this does kind of fall somewhat, the negotiation is not in my purview, obviously, the legal
Right.
part is.
Right.
Feel free to just send me them so we don't wait until the next one. And I don't think everybody's been privy to this
No.
document that you have, George, so.
No. we
Yeah.
got it.
Oh, yeah, no, just got it. I just didn't
got
know.
it tonight.
Right, so I didn't, because we're saying it generally, so we don't cover something tonight on the legal end. Feel free to
Well,
fire that off to me, because it's a
so-
it's a bit of a burdensome document.
I just want to point out some areas I'd like you to look at, and the
Yeah.
board to look at. And then when we review this in detail, there probably will be more. But in order to start the process, rather than just leave here, I noticed some items that,
Sure. Let's go for it.
and what they've done is they haven't followed the format. They followed the basics, but they put number 4.1 where number 6.2 was, and they put insurance someplace. So in order to follow along, it's a little difficult. So I'll just give you
Okay,
the
yeah,
ones that, the first one I saw, George had seen, is the term. The term is,
10 to 15.
Oldie's been 10 years, they put 15 years. The next one,
And on that note, Phil, I mean,
Yes.
you've done a million negotiations.
Yeah.
That could be as simple as them
Yeah.
putting 15 in to get 10.
yeah, I'm
You
sure
know,
they're,
so-
you know what, I'm sure they're going for what they can get.
Right, right.
And I don't have any problem with it.
I doubt it's in there by mistake, you know, so,
No, that wasn't a mistake. I'm sure they wanted to lock us in for
Yeah.
another 5 years.
yeah.
But
But it's, all right, noted on that. And that's
Yeah.
what that, you have it right in front of you, you said it's 4.1, is that on the term? Is
on the
that-
new one, no, the old one.
You want
can
to
just
refer to it on the new one?
Term,
Okay, I just have it as term 10, 15, I mean, I
that's
saw it
right,
in there as
yeah,
well.
if you would,
2.2,
yeah.
What is it, Doug?
2.2
2.2, thank you.
2.2,
And that's on the new one,
on the new.
okay.
Yeah, I only highlighted the areas on the old one that were different, and I didn't have it. I don't have, I just had my laptop. copy.
Yeah, as
So
long as the
you could
subject's
mark
fine,
it
I'll
off.
find it.
Yeah, I know there's a non-exclusivity, and I know, I think that was the other one. So you can just look at that one. 10-year. Let's see, municipality may revoke, we can revoke the franchise on revocation, of course. This one is different than the new agreement is quite different. They want us to hold a public hearing before we can do any revocation. On the old one, you probably should get the old one. So you
I have
can
the,
make
I
a
have the
comparison.
old one. Yep, yep.
So on the revocation, they've changed all the ground rules. And rather than just come to the board and the board have a hearing.
Yeah.
And say, these are the items, you have 60 days to correct them. They put a whole litany of stuff that we have to do in order to correct them in 120 days for this, and a public hearing with the
Okay.
public so they can make comments, and doesn't involve the public on those particular things. So please look at that,
Sure.
kind of make the comparisons on
So
those.
fair to say that the old model would be more ideal, or at least
Well,
closer
it
to
would,
where-
because we negotiated a good old model,
Right.
and the new one they
Well,
want to put in is like,
It's
okay.
worked for 10
Sure,
years.
yeah.
you know, except
Overall-
Well, for
that-
us, maybe not.
Yes.
I know, but I mean,
That's
the
why
two
I'm
complaints I got were in my office, other than that, I
Yeah.
never heard about it.
Yeah, it was, it was written by them, and Phil and I were talking before we came into the meeting here, and the franchise agreement was written by them. And overall, it just seems like it's to their benefit.
Yeah.
not our
That is the benefit of writing it, right? So,
Yeah,
right.
so then we'll write it back.
I mean, I could sit down, I have it all mapped
Okay.
out, but we would be here until midnight to make the comparison. So
Understood.
Look at them, okay, so, and the next thing we looked at was the indemnification and insurance section. George, you may want to look at that. Before, they had a $3 million for bodily injury, a combined $3 million policy. To my thought, that you could use that on any one of those three categories, liability. But now they broke it down, 1 million for liability, 1 million for auto, and 2 million. So you can't break it down. Each of those incidents, you can't use it all. I'm not sure. So please look at that.
Yep.
And then we look at the fee. George and I have talked about this in the office a little bit. And this paper from Albany or wherever it came from does reference the fee, but not the question that was asked. Okay, the fee is 5% on the old agreement of the operation, 5% of the operation, period. The fee that they put in now is 5%, but it can be a pass-through to the subscriber. So now we have them coming in and paying nothing for this franchise because the subscriber will be billed for the franchise. So you might want to
There
look
was
at that.
a conversation, and I'm not sure who I had it with.
Okay,
Does the bill, do residents' bills currently reflect a pass-through of some sort, of
Yes,
any?
they
It
do.
does, right? So,
That's my.
but that
understanding.
wasn't taking money out of the town's pocket
Well-
per se, it was just adding on to the residents.
If
But in
they're
this
adding it
particular way,
on-
it's a-
it
Go ahead.
doesn't look like it's in the original agreement. I'm
Okay,
just telling you.
so, yeah,
So.
I remember something, that might have been George that I had the
George
conversation.
mentioned
Yeah,
that. I don't know, because I don't have them. I'm in the
I
village
looked,
and,
yeah, I looked
I
on
don't
my
have it
bill
either.
yeah,
and they didn't break it down like they used to. They used to break down fees and taxes, but they didn't. They just put in one lump sum, so you
Well,
don't know what it
maybe
is.
they're going for renewal, but I want to tell you something. If they've been charging our subscribers all along, and please take a look at that.
Yeah,
section.
yeah, well, that's why
It's
I
brief.
asked,
But it doesn't say anything about a pass-through.
and that's
So-
10.1 based on that email, section
So-
10.1, right, on the new agreement.
Uh,
Well, it's just referenced there, I'm just making note for the.
This is just Time Warner Cable shall pay the municipality amount equal to 5% of Tom Warner Cable's
Yep.
gross revenue received by Time Warner Cable directly from the operation of the cable system. Then it talks about a credit that shall be applied to something
Sure.
else, but it doesn't say anything about passing it through to the subscriber. Because then, it's like our subscriber are paying their franchise fee.
It's been a
They're
double.
coming in for free. So look at that if
Sure.
it's in
Yep,
order,
it's in my notes.
And when on the 5%, the people that responded from Albany, I just glanced at that, didn't address that portion. They addressed, yes, they're allowed to charge 5% or whatever we agree upon. But they didn't address the fact that where it would come from. So
Okay.
anyway, that's it. And the franchise fees shall be due quarterly. And I have to ask, many years ago, we had a problem collecting money. It became a real hot legal issue, collecting the amount that they had collected from us for fees and whatever. They weren't sending it directly to the town. They were accumulating it, and it mounted up to a couple of $100,000. And getting it, we had to, the managers came down. There was a lot of back and forth. I think originally we got a portion of it. So if they're promising to give us something like that 5%, then I want to make sure it's foolproof that we get the 5%. In this, they say, in our old one, they were going to send us an actual copy quarterly of how that breakdown was. In this one, it just indicates that they'll send it to us upon request or something like that. I'd like that to be done in clear, black and white, so we don't go through that. But once again, I'm taking 15 to 20 years ago. I don't know if you remember that, Doug, or not.
I do.
Yeah, you do
I
remember. that.
remember this, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a
15 years
real,
ago, about now, we were doing this.
yeah, that's right. And one the last one, I was back on the board back and forth.
Right.
So without really delving into this, and the other thing, as I said, on the revocation we talked about already, those were just really the highlights. I didn't sit down and compare both.
So you have the old agreement.
I have a
Yeah.
copy of the
Do
old
you have,
agreement.
Doug, you have it?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right. So I know that I have it electronically available. I think I got it from Christine.
I gave it to you.
You give
I sent it out.
Yeah, so
credit card.
everyone should really take a look at this, because there are big dollars involved in this thing,
Yeah, I agree. I
really,
agree.
really big dollars. And
So if, again, just reiterating my initial comment on it, this is a bit more unique than the most of the legal stuff that I'm involved with.
Yes.
So these questions, as you guys review it, just please send them to me individually,
Yeah.
and then I can address
Yeah.
to Joe. and
as long as you
back
have both of them, they're broken out in the specific sections.
Yeah, you can
We'll
mix and
just tell
match.
you, take a look at this section versus the new one.
Yeah.
And see what you think legally. And
Do
then
you-
we'll make the determination whether we want to go for it or not.
George or Phil or anybody else, but I don't know if anybody talked to Joe as it relates to who's, I would imagine one of you or Doug is gonna be a part of the negotiation. Is it gonna be
I don't know.
done? How did you guys do it last time?
I was involved the last time, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was involved, but I think,
Yeah.
Doug, I think you may have been involved as well.
I don't remember.
Did they come down here and we sat down and they hashed it out, or was there cop markup sent back to them? Do you recall? I mean, it's a different time.
I was involved in
electronically.
the original one. When
Yeah.
they first came to town, so I
Right,
don't know.
so
I
it was
was
like
on
you took a
legislature
stone and you
last-
etched in. And you, so I'm just trying to figure out how you guys
Yeah.
operated it last
Yeah.
time.
Well, before Joe left, I said to him, I was involved with this 10 years ago. And I said, there's a state organization that we work with.
Right, which is, yeah.
And he said, well, send it up there.
Okay.
Send the thing up.
It was good.
Never did that.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's a point person. Yeah, that I can,
Well,
I do have a point person on my email, so maybe when we do a draft,
I meant out of this.
Out of
this.
this.
I'm just trying to figure out because of
Yes.
quorum, I'm not, open meeting things. I want to make sure I'm
Yeah.
communicating with one person.
I'd be happy to take part in it. If not, Joe
All
will
right, you
make a
guys-
decision when he wants to do it. We have time. When he comes back, we can talk.
Okay, that's fine. Then
And
I'll
because he'll
wait.
wanna
I'll
be a
just
part of
accrue,
it.
I'll accrue all the data and then when that time comes, I'll.
Yeah.
I have one other item, when I'm reading the new one, okay, under section 12, 12.1, inspection of records. Grantee, which is them,
Right.
shall permit only duly authorized representatives of the grantor upon written receipt in advance, a written notice to examine during normal business hours on a non-disruptive basis. What they're trying to talk about here is we hire companies to audit our electric and our telephone bills. And any money they can save us, they get a percentage of it. What they're saying here is, well, if you have them, we've got to agree to who they are. I don't understand that.
Well, I don't fully agree or disagree with that. Like a
Okay.
good lawyer would say, but it seemed duly authorized, so I don't know if we have the power to authorize, but we'll clarify that. I mean, it
I
would
mean,
seem that we would have,
Yeah, I don't know.
The ability
This
to
must be
grant
new.
that.
I don't have the old one.
because then otherwise, who has the power? Is it Joe?
Well,
Deus?
But for
Well,
all
let's say they
intents-
don't agree with it.
Right,
Yeah.
fair.
So,
Well, we'll clarify that and make sure that's.
But for all intents and purposes, when I said that they need to send us their
Right.
reports quarterly,
Right.
that's where we can audit them quarterly when we
When we
send
have
them
it
to see
in-house.
and their reports show what the volume is,
Right.
what the 5% is, whatever receipts they have. Once we do that, we agree with it quarterly, it won't make a difference.
Oh.
But they're not saying they're gonna do that. They said what you said they're gonna do.
Right.
The way they're gonna report to us. And this one is pretty simple. They'll just report to us. So that's why I asked that.
Actually, the new contract, the way I read it, was that there was a total ban on that.
Total ban on it?
Total ban, you could not hire a firm,
well, that's what I'm reading here. That's what I've just mentioned.
a firm
It's,
to do
They have
that
to
on a
agree to it.
percentage basis, Let's say they would recover $100,000 and they want 10%. No, you can't do that according to the new contract.
Yeah, I mean,
Just cross that out because they
That-
can't, they
right, I
have
don't
no
think-
authority.
it sounded like they were talking
Tell us
about it.
we can't look.
It was an inspection, either like almost an in-house inspection or getting something on the fly, whereas if we have a setup quarterly coming,
Yeah,
I don't know how they can restrict who we give that to review. That would seem to be
exactly.
a bit overreaching. So I just we'll clarify it. I'll look at that.
That's one area-
Those are good points.
These are just areas that we should talk about. That's all.
Yeah.
I think that
That's-
it's
that's all I'm
probably
bringing it up.
they've had other municipalities
Yeah.
where the municipality, like we do, we hire auditors.
Yeah.
And we don't pay them anything unless they save us money. And so they're trying to skirt that by saying, no, we don't want anybody really looking at this.
All right.
Unless we agree to it first and they won't agree to
Yeah,
it, I guess. So,
What I see in their new agreement is they probably send that out to 90% of the municipalities. They sign off on it, send it back and say it's okay because we're gonna get 5%.
Yeah.
I'm sure. it's
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, I doubt
You're
most
freaking Goshen,
municipalities
right?
have board members that negotiated the original agreement still on the board.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But you don't even have the agreement in front of you, you just know it.
No, I just remember it. I mean, so.
That's
So
all.
in the,
you polish cannonballs above it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
in the old contract, it seems to me that it's much more expansive as what would
Yes.
fall into the franchise fee.
Yeah.
And they've narrowed it down. In fact, I think the state people are saying the same thing.
Right.
They've narrowed down things and have exclusions, so therefore the amount of franchise fee that we would be collecting would be less.
It's still a
Yeah.
percentage,
Oh,
but it's a
yeah.
percentage of less.
Less.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's what it was.
And it's a percentage of something else, not the whole operation.
And they also might be passing it on. to the
And they are
customer.
passing it. So, and it says it right in it, they're passing it.
All right, good stuff. So continue
so-
that discussion.
All right.
And the last thing I have is on page 11B, under section 18 of the old contract.
Ah.
I believe that actually states there that that's where they can take the franchise fee and pass it through to the subscribers.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that's happening now with the existing contract. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. Okay, anything else with the franchise agreement? No, so now we move on to number 2. We have the next one, number 2, is a letter from Cecil
Thomas.
Cecil Thomas. And it reads as follows. Dear Chief Post, our new chief, this letter is to advise you that effective immediately, I will be resigning my position at the town of Goshen Police Department due to my other job obligations. I did enjoy and appreciate the great opportunity that you and the department have offered me, and I will miss all my fellow officers along with the entire department and the citizens of the town of Goshen. I will return all the equipment that was issued to me as soon as possible. would like to thank you once again for giving me the great opportunity to work for the department, and I am sorry for any inconvenience I may have caused. Sincerely, Cecil Thomas. So we need a motion to
Yep.
accept his resignation.
I make a motion that we accept the resignation and send him a thank you letter for his years of service.
Okay, second by Rick, or second by Doug.
I got that.
This is one of our finest officers.
Yeah.
He just is a nice human being and does the job most adequately.
Yeah.
So.
And he used to stand in the back of the room there when we were going through
Yeah.
those contentious meetings,
Yeah.
remember?
Protected us back there, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I hate to see him go, but
Yeah.
life goes on.
Okay, then I'll call a question. If there's no other discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Carry. Next one is number 3, letter of resignation for police officer Michael Imperio. And this was dated June 25th. I want to write you to inform you that effective immediately, I will be resigning from my position as a police officer with the Town of Goshen Police Department. I have recently been promoted to fire lieutenant at my full-time job, FDNY. And unfortunately, I just won't have the availability to continue working with the department. I just want to also take the opportunity to express my sincere appreciation to you and Sergeant Faust for being so flexible and understanding with me over the years and dealing with my crazy work schedules. I know it's not easy running day-to-day operations and scheduling so many officers. My absences, although not intentional, I'm sure caused some inconvenience to you, Sergeant Faust, and other officers, but I was being mandated so much of these times, and I sincerely apologize for that. I think in total, I have been with the department for about 22 years and have seen some good people come and go. You are definitely one of the good ones. I thank you again for everything you've had to deal with and everything you have done for me and the department. Respectfully, Michael Imperio. So we need a motion to accept his resignation. Made by Doug, second by Rick.
With a letter of appreciation.
Okay. I'll call a question in. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 4, we have a letter here from Kirsten Santangelo. Dear Mary, as per our discussion on Tuesday, July 5th, please accept this letter as my intention to work part-time in your office as of August 1st, 2022, pending approval from the town, Goshen Town Board. It is a difficult decision that I did not take lightly, but due to my current circumstances, I cannot fulfill my duties as your deputy as effectively as I was able to in the past. As we discussed, I will train your new deputy so the office can remain properly staffed for all contingencies. Thank you again for your support in this time and in the past. I appreciate all that has been done for me in my role as deputy town clerk since 2017. It has truly been a pleasure to serve the town for the last 5 years as your deputy. So we need a motion to,
I think this is personnel, so we should probably have to go into executive session. for personnel.
so this is a,
No.
I don't
Unless you
know.
have
That's okay. go ahead.
questions or you need to discuss it in further detail.
She's asking to go, yeah, I have no question.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody has questions about it, I guess executive session would be
Right.
appropriate,
Okay,
but I don't have any questions.
I don't have any questions.
Yeah, there's no performance discussion, there's no salary discussion. It's literally a change in title essentially, or change in workload, right? I mean,
Changing hours and position. She will not be the deputy clerk.
No,
so
I'll keep her as a
Definitely.
part-time deputy clerk because she can perform.
Right, but I'm not
duties
sure if we
for
have
me.
a position for that. So we can establish one.
Right.
for that.
Right.
I have no problem accepting this.
Yeah,
The proper protocol.
Yeah.
like there's always, I mean, in general, the safest things always to go into that, but I don't believe this, again, my understanding of what would require executive session, I don't believe this would, so. But if you're more comfortable with that.
No, no,
certainly.
no, I have no problem. It's just personnel. So.
Generally,
No,
personnel
no one
draws
has
us,
any personnel, any request or any position having to do with changing jobs and stuff like that.
if there's discussion, then we
Yeah,
have to.
Because
If
one
there's
of the
no,
board members would say, are you crazy?
listen, if there's
Why
a
are we
need,
doing
if
that?
there's a need
But
for
none of us
discussion,
have it. Yeah, but I'm just telling you.
if it goes directly to vote, then no. If there's a
Yeah.
need, if there's any discussion,
Yeah.
then it would go into executive
Okay, I
session.
just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
Well,
so,
this is a 2 or 3-fold
Right,
operation.
Yes.
That's happening here, you know?
yes.
We have one person going part-time, another person potentially changing their title into
Sure.
another position.
We're only on the
And
one.
Position.
also you have a rate of pay for the part-timers.
Exactly.
So you do have a number of different things happening here.
okay,
And there's.
so if there's a need for discussion,
Right.
I'm not discouraging the discussion. If
Right.
there's a need for discussion, we're going
Well-
to executive session. If the way that the reaction to the letter was like, okay, so that's why
Yes.
But if-
But
yeah,
I bring
I-
it up only if anybody has any situations, then we should go into executive session for
Well, I
personnel.
mean,
I don't.
I'm assuming on
I
this
don't.
letter and what's proposed that, you know, when you're part.
All right, let's-
You don't.
I don't have a
Right.
problem.
put us in, can you make a motion to put us in executive
No,
session?
no,
We're
no,
going
I-
into discussion right now. By discussing the discussion, we're discussing. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Now I understand why you're a lawyer.
I can't
Yeah,
put
right.
Pandora back in the box if it comes out, so I'd rather just,
So I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel.
thank you.
Second.
Second by Doug, made by Phil.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, give me one moment
You guys
to
leave for 2
pause.
minutes, 2
Yeah.
seconds if you don't.
Won't
mind.
take long.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
we can go if you want, that way you don't have to shut me.
Oh, you're gonna need me for questions.
Okay,
We're gonna need Mary.
I,
She's gonna be a part of this, right? So
Yeah.
it's personnel.
I would think so.
Yeah, I'm leaving. Yeah, right.
in this particular scenario, you're getting called in here like Chief did for the police position. So,
And it involves.
Let me just
Pat,
make sure that I'm
Oh, yeah.
not
You
recording.
know, so
hang on.
Hold on one second. Let me just make double sure. Because I got two things going.
So is this